Welcome into Grand Slam Sports. My name is Samuel Gailey alongside
Charles Foster.
Jace Hodge.
Well, guys, we're going to jump into a bunch of segments today. We got baseball, we got soccer, but we're going to start with NFL, talking about some of the games of this past week. We're going to start off with the Falcons and Eagles. I know we put in some picks and predictions last week, but Captain Kirk coming back with that late drive to put it away. Drake London acting all surprised in the end zone, ends up getting a flag thrown for celebration. But what a comeback by this Falcons squad.
100%.
Go ahead. Yeah, they look like a great team. I mean, we made a TikTok earlier in the year, and I was talking about how I was a fan of the Falcons. I think that they were going to be one of my dark horse teams to make a playoff run if they can make it. And I think they really did show that potential against for some people, a Super Bowl favorite. Kirk did very good, 2 touchdowns, throwing above 67%. Good game for Kirk. I liked what I saw.
I mean, for the Eagles, they had that game essentially won. I mean, it was almost over. All they needed to do was get a first down, and the clock was going to run out. But they decided to throw the ball to Saquon Barkley, who inevitably drops it. And to me, that wasn't the right play call. Saquon was averaging, 5-6 yards to carry? You hand out the ball there, you waste time no matter what, because the Falcons were out of timeouts. But you give Atlanta that chance, and what do you know? Primetime Kirk Cousins goes and wins a game.
I think for me, Kirk Cousins looked better in that last 2-minute drill than he did the entire game for me.
For sure.
He was in rhythm. He was hitting people over the middle. Darnell Mooney, a great catch across the middle. He looked like a prime receiver. Kirk was hitting him on the money. Drake London had that nice toe tap at the end, sort of waving by to Slay in that corner. Slay after the game saying like, dang, he beat me. He beat me on the route. It was a good route. But for me is that I feel like if Atlanta keeps it high-tempo offense and keeps Kirk in a rhythm and not have these slow, drawn-out plays or play action, stuff like that, get him in shotgun, let him sling the ball around, I think that is the Falcons that can be.
And I think the receiving core is not only nice, but Bijan Robinson is actually kind of becoming a threat. 14 carries, 97 yards. He looked fantastic. And that threat opens up Darnell Mooney and Drake London and Pitts. I think they look great.
Yep. They have so many threats on offense. They're going to be a hard team to stop. The rest of the season once Kirk gets into rhythm.
For sure. I don't want to talk about it. Charles does. He's already smiling. We're going to talk about Thursday night game. Last night, I probably watched the first quarter and into the second quarter, and then I turned it off in favor of playing FIFA because I was about to punch my fist through my television screen. But I'll let Charles take it because he has so many bright spots to highlight, including them beating us for the first time in 13 years, I think.
We beat you guys last year, but first time at home.
At home.
So, it was a really good game, absolutely. The
Jets,
it
wasn't a good game. Stop, from
great.
You guys.
The Jets looked fantastic. Aaron Rodgers was slinging it. That's the Aaron Rodgers that was brought in. Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be brought in for a Jets offense that was struggling over the past few years. Obviously, the Achilles tear kind of made that a little bit hard. But now that he's here, he looked really good. He was a little bit more mobile. He's less scared to get hit. And now that little backfield combo of Breece Hall and Braylon Allen has looked really good to start off this year.
And you talk about Braylon Allen, that guy was a wrecking ball yesterday. He had catches, he had rushes. He was splitting almost 50-50 with Breece Hall, which kind of surprised me to an extent. But the Jets, they look good. They look like what they're supposed to be now that Rodgers is getting into a rhythm, and he has the weapons. He has Lazard, his old weapon from Green Bay, and he has Garrett Wilson, both of which looked pretty good in that ball game. And the Pats, their offense, Sam, just not up to par.
I don't know. I don't know what you guys expected from us. We're going against a top 10 defense at a bounce back game from last week where they sort of got ran through quite literally. So I was expecting a bounce back game for the Jets offense or Jets defense in a way. Ramondre just couldn't get up to speed. Fumble, 23 yards, rushing. The bright spot for me was Christian Gonzalez when he was one-on-one with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, 4 receptions for 24 yards when manned by Gonzalez. Bright spot for me on the DB. Demario Douglas also looked pretty good, especially on those. And then, honestly, the bright spot for me was Drake May sort of figuring it out in the last 4 minutes. Yeah, he took a couple hits, but I think his will of figuring out what to do with the ball in his first opening drive, I think that was good. I liked seeing him come in at the end. So a lot of questions, but I didn't really expect much, I think.
And I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is they've given Aaron Rodgers big threats. That's what he likes. He likes those tall receivers. Mike Williams is a receiver you forgot to mention. He's been coming off an ACL tear. He finally got a few snaps.
True.
He got 3 catches, and he looked fantastic. So, I mean, you have multiple 6'4", 6'5" receivers. He loved throwing that to Conklin. This is a receiving core that's going to make Rodgers feel very at home.
Nice. We can finally move on from that. That's great. That's great. My torture is over. We're going to move on to 0-2 teams that can bounce back. What are your guys' thoughts here? I know big man Burrow and our producer Kennedy's in the background talking about Burrow's hair, I think. So what are your guys' thoughts on teams that can bounce back, starting with Charles?
Definitely looking at, there's a lot of good teams that are 0-2. I think a lot of people are going to focus on the Bengals and the Ravens, yada, yada, yada. But to me, I like to kind of focus more on the Rams right here, because this is a Rams team that, yes, they're hurt, but they are in a division that's, other than the 49ers, is a little bit open. And I think that they're going to kind of get to show off some of that youth, some of those players that they've picked up. They picked up a good receiver in the draft, Tutu Atwell still healthy. They're going to be dealing with some injuries, but I think it's going to be a good chance to kind of see what this team is about. I don't think they're going to bounce back to the playoffs, but I think it's going to be a good thing for a team that's trying to figure out their identity.
Yeah, and I know that you mentioned, obviously, Bengals, Ravens, those are the 2 popular ones, but I mean, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
The Bengals, they were really, really close. They probably honestly should have beaten the Chiefs in Arrowhead last weekend. And then the Ravens, I mean, they're the Ravens. They've already lost an Arrowhead in a close game. So both these teams have faced some difficult matchups so far, minus the Ravens losing to Las Vegas, which completely surprised all of us, I think. But both of these teams have the capabilities to bounce back, and I think they both will bounce back.
Yeah, my pick was going to be the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's finally going to figure it out. I mean, Zay Flowers looked really good last game. I think he looked awesome. He had a touchdown catch as well. I think they really need to figure out how they're going to use Derrick Henry, and they're still figuring that out, because when you see Derrick Henry on the field, you know it's going to be a run. He's not known as a pass-catching back, and they really need to utilize those RPO game, especially out that backfield, letting Lamar Jackson go loose, because they're already going to play the run. Might as well try and fake him. So I think, at least in Baltimore, it is a thoughts of trying to implement new things in the offense. So I think it's going to click this week. They're going to get their first win.
I agree.
Injury time. Basically, this is Grand Slam injury report. He's on 2 of my fantasy teams, Deebo Samuel. So obviously, that whole team is basically injured. So I don't even with all those injuries, I don't even classify them as a Super Bowl contender anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest issues right now has been injuries for every team. I mean, we've seen this issue with the turf. We saw Tua go down, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit later. But then we also saw Jermaine Johnson on the Jets. He tore his Achilles. Last night, Morgan Moses for the Jets. He got hurt. We do not know what's going to happen. Both receivers on the Rams are currently now IR. I mean, this is a problem. There's been a lot of injuries early in the year. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like it's something that we see every year. This is a topic every year. It's not going to be an easy fix. I mean, injuries are bound to happen. It's the NFL. It's football. It's one of the hardest hitting sports in the world. If not the hardest hitting sport in the world. It's bound to happen. Obviously, the turf can be a problem because the cleats can get stuck, and that kind of affects your Achilles or ACL.
We saw week 1 in Brazil that the field that they played on was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I think that at least for the NFL, there should be at least some field conditions. If you are playing on a grass field, if you are playing on a turf field, I think that both fields require different pairs of cleats. Obviously, players travel with 2 different pairs of cleats. But for me, obviously, I think it's a physical sport, right?
Yeah.
People are going to get hurt. I think it's just unlucky a little bit. I think most of these injuries are unlucky. I mean, you're talking about a torn Achilles last night. I mean, it's just football is like a game of inches. You take one step to the left, one step to the right, something happens. I mean, we saw with Aaron Rodgers last year. I mean, he took one step backwards, it's gone. And it's just incredible seeing that.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest things with these injuries that I've noticed is mostly it's because of how explosive and big these guys are. These are not what humans are supposed to be like. So whenever they plant, that's where we've seen a lot of these injuries from. I think it'll be interesting to kind of see how that develops and how these teams kind of get shaken up by them.
I agree. Speaking of which, Tua Tagovailoa, head injury again. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I hate the Miami Dolphins with every part of my being, but this is not how someone's career should go out. I saw him lower his head. I saw him go in on that as well. I knew it was coming. Damar Hamlin, it was a clean tackle, but I don't know why Tua lowered his head there. And I mean, they've been talking with Tyrod Taylor, I think, of the Baltimore practice squad. I think they're going to sign
Tyler
him.
Huntley.
Oh, Huntley. Sorry, Huntley. My apologies. But I mean, what are they going to do in Miami?
I think Huntley right now is the best option. I think that Huntley is, in my opinion, one of the best backups in football. I think you rock with Huntley for now, kind of see what's going to go on, because you have a team that, you don't know if Tua's going to come back healthy. You don't know if he's going to come back
He shouldn't come back.
So, I mean, this is a situation where it is we do question, with Tua, it's about life at this point. And whenever you've
I agree.
had 4 or 5 concussions in 3 years, that's whenever you have those issues come in. This has been a common issue that we've seen in a lot of sports like this, where we've seen issues even like CTE. It's a concern.
Yeah.
And I really do hope that he makes a decision that's for his likelihood and not
And
for the team. In this
You heard what the
situation.
head coach said. He needs to go right now to his family and just take time to think about his future. Because for him, this sucks to see him. He had concussion in college, now 3 in the NFL, 2 of which were pretty bad. Now the last 2 have been really bad concussions.
Oh, man, they have
And
been.
it hurts to see for a quarterback of his talent, of his caliber. He's a good quarterback for sure. But at this point in time, I think he just needs to just take some time to rest
No,
and relax.
he shouldn't take some time at all. He should retire. There's
saying-
no
I'm
way
saying
he's
if he wants to
yeah,
return.
I'm just saying no, but I don't think it's a
I
medical
think he
decision.
takes the year.
It's a
I agree.
medical decision at this point, man. I mean, like, it's just
He's going to return. I think it takes a year off though.
no, he's not going to.
I think the biggest thing that he needs to
Dolphins
do
are
is
gonna trade
definitely
for Bryce
take
Young.
At least a year off. At least a year off. Spend that time, get healthy, be with his family, figure out the next move in the
I agree.
offseason. But he should not even think about coming back this year.
No,
Rock with the rest.
If he comes back this year, I would be shocked.
I would too.
Moving on, pick 6. Love this segment, especially. I had some stinkers last week, especially picking some teams. I know everyone has. I look like an idiot, I think, taking the Colts to win, but that's okay. It's all right. Jace has some comments about that anyways, but we're going to move on to the first game. We got the Texans versus the Vikings. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think 2 offenses coming into it, pretty high on Sam Darnold right now. Sam Darnold looks good.
Yeah.
He looks
Agreed.
good.
I'm going with the Texans here. I think that is, in my opinion, just the pick that you make, better offense. To me, Texans got this one. I got them on my first game.
Yeah, I have Texans as well. I think Texans are sort of it's humming. It's humming. You see Stephon Diggs. I mean, we're just talking about preseason about how are these receivers going to all eat, and I think they're figuring that out.
Hopefully we don't curse them. It's a 3-0 sweep for Houston. I mean, the Vikings, they're 2-0. They're bound to drop one here. Darnold's looked okay and decent for the most part, but the Texans are just better.
Moving on to the next game, we got Eagles versus Saints. Another tough one for the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been up and down. I mean, the bright spot has been Saquon Barkley, but he can't hold up for the entirety of their offense. Charles?
Honestly, it might not be an upset. It might be an upset. I'm going Saints here. I don't see this offense stopping until someone stops them. They went into the Cowboys, and they just ran all over them. I think Kamara has another good game. I'm going Saints right here.
I'm going Saints too as a Kamara owner. Another 100-yard game, 2 touchdowns. Yes, please.
It feels weird being the odd one out, picking the Philadelphia Eagles of all teams. So I'm taking the Eagles here. They're bound to bounce back. They lost a tough one. They shouldn't have lost that game anyways. The Saints look good, but they're bound to have a down day some point, right? They scored 45 points per game. That's not going to hold up at some point, especially against the Eagles defense. Give me Philadelphia here.
Steelers, Chargers, J. Herb.
I'm going Steelers here. I think that the Steelers are going to look a lot better. I think the Steelers are coming off of what's been a really good season for them. Their defense is going to look really good. It'll be interesting to kind of see how they do against a really good O-line in the Chargers, though. Sam?
I'm going to go. It's a tough one. I think Steelers are kind of pretenders right now. I think Justin Fields is sort of hobbling his way and figuring out as he goes to 2 wins. I think they did a great job. But I'm going to go Chargers here. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to continue that reign of terror that he's on right now. I think Ladd McConkey's doing a great job out wide, and Justin Herbert's just getting it done.
Against the Steelers defense, though, I don't think J.K. does as well as he's done. And Herbert is still injured. He has an injury right now. He's still kind of working back from a little bit. He's kind of questionable heading into this game. I'm taking the Steelers here because their defense is just better than anything I've seen.
And kind of speeding through it a little bit, we got Ravens and Cowboys up next. I got the Cowboys personally. I hate to say Ravens 0-3, but that's just the way it goes. I got Cowboys taking this one.
I got Ravens.
I got Ravens as well.
All right,
Ravens.
looking on to our next one, we got Cardinals and Lions. I am also going with another upset here. I'm going Cardinals taking this one.
Oh, 100%.
Coming in and sneaking this one out.
100%. Kyler's
What?
coming with yes, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, all day.
Against the Lions? Nah.
Yes.
I'm not as confident as he is,
No,
but I'm saying
I am.
Cardinals.
That's insane
I am
confidence. That's
confident.
insane confidence.
I'm-
The Lions are going to bounce back from that Bucs loss last week. Give me Detroit.
Oh my gosh, they're
Last
the world
game,
champs.
Chiefs
Yeah, the world
versus
champs.
Falcons. I'm going Chiefs here in the Chiefs versus Falcons matchup. I think that the Chiefs, they're just a better team. Falcons are going to look a lot better than people expect, but give me Chiefs.
I have to agree. I think the Falcons are going to put up a fight. I think the Chiefs can stomp it out. But I think that's what's going to be.
I agree, yeah.
That does it for our NFL segment. Stay with us after this short break. We're going to be back with some soccer.
Welcome back in to Grand Slam Sports. Some soccer on tap today as the Champions League got underway just a few days ago. The trophy, in between, you got Bayern
Looking
Munich
beautiful.
competing, and you got
Oh,
City.
yeah.
It's a new format this season.
Nice,
It looks.
nice.
I mean, it actually looks pretty good, the format, I would say. You got some bigger games early on. You saw City and Inter on the first match day. You
That
got a
was
lot
an
of big
exciting
games.
match as well. That was an exciting match. My Bayern match wasn't too exciting. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
scare for us, 3-2 in the 44th, and then we
9-2.
We
Yeah.
made that flame burn out. just a
And
little
then
bit.
for my City, we had to Inter first match day, probably one of our hardest matches in the group stages in the league phase. We drew 0-0. Inter is a very defensive team. I wasn't really surprised by the way they played. It was bound to happen 0-0. We still have Juventus and PSG later on in the phase as well.
I'm excited
So-
for that. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I think all these Italian teams, for me, think more defensively,
for
especially
sure.
with those attacking wing backs.
Yeah.
I mean, we got main man Jude Bellingham down here. Real Madrid coming out with the win. Endrick with a goal.
They look
His first
good.
goal. They look good. They look dangerous. There's a lot of talks about how are you going to fit Rodrigo? How are you going to fit Mbappe? How are you going to fit Vinicius Jr. in that front three? And I think they're sort of just
Yeah.
going as they can and figuring
But looking
it out.
across Spain, Barcelona, they fell in their first league phase game to Monaco 2-1. They had the red card in the 20th minute with Eric Garcia.
Wow, yes.
And they lost 2-1, although Lamine Yamal looks great.
Yamin Lamal is sort of carrying Barcelona, I feel like. Me personally, I love Yamin Lamal. I love what he does. I think there's not a lot of people. I mean, Jamal Musiala is that same type of player for Bayern. That's that playmaker. That's that skill position. That's the one who can cut in on his left foot, who can cut in on his right foot, find the crosses, and be creative.
But I just want to get your thoughts on this new league phase and what you think about how this is all going to work out.
It's like trying a new ice cream, first time you have it, you're like, I guess I'll have it again. And then you eat it again. Oh, okay. So I think honestly, it's just going to be getting a lot of used to. For me personally, we're so used to seeing a group stage of 4, 4, 4, 4, 4,
Yeah.
4, 4. And I think this includes a lot of teams, more teams. I think it's awesome from the advertising portion because every team is guaranteed to play games.
Yeah.
And I think especially for
And
these
big
smaller
games at that.
Yeah, especially for these smaller clubs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's great, especially
sure.
for those lower clubs who need this funding.
Now, I want to go into what we think was our top summer transfers. Obviously, the window just closed about a few weeks ago, so we'll go ahead and look at
Yeah, we're
those.
looking at those right
top
now.
summer transfers. Sam, when do you got?
Oof, I'm gonna stick with my Bayern. I'm gonna stick with the man on the screen, signed till 2029. I like Michael Olise. I loved what he did. I'm a Crystal Palace fan in the Prem. Love Olise, love Eze. Olise looks sharp. He's had 2 starts, 1 goal, 5 shots on target. I mean, those stats don't speak. Those stats don't speak volumes. I think he's a
he hasn't played
creative
much
winger.
yet, so.
I think he's a creative winger.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like he's going to beat out Gnabry. Gnabry's going to leave. I think he can beat out Sane. Sane's riddled with injuries. I think he's exactly what Bayern Munich need going into this season, especially with, other things happening.
I mean, and the squad looks good. Obviously, that 9-2 win over Dinamo Zagreb. Olise was bound to leave at some point. Bayern got him, obviously.
I honestly couldn't believe it by the interest
Yeah.
in some other clubs. I think it was an excellent signing from us, and I don't really say that often. And we've had some busts. We have had, I mean, better than other clubs. We're not talking Barcelona type Coutinho scandals, but I mean, he's one of the signings that I really like,
Yeah.
and I've liked him for a long time.
The guy that I chose is an old Man City man now to Atletico Madrid, Julian Alvarez. Obviously, he was great in a City uniform, backing up Erling Haaland. Has 1 goal so far in the 3 games he's played for Atletico with the 6 shots. But I think he was what Madrid needed, a starting striker. Alvarez needed to get out of City because he was just behind Haaland, and it wasn't going to work out in the long term, sitting behind Haaland for all those years. He needed to get out, get to his own spot, and become a starting caliber striker.
You know what I like about Alvarez too is he can play on the wings. He's comfortable playing on the wings. I mean, like Olise, his stats don't really show the quality of player he is. He likes to get in behind. He likes to spin and turn. I really like this signing for Atletico Madrid. Griezmann on the older side. Let's be honest. I remember when the 2016 World Cup where he's standing and doing this. But now he's less mobile. He's more of the playmaker when they need that young talent, that speed, and that is Julian Alvarez. Like your pick.
And speaking of Erling Haaland, we're going to go right into him, and the scoring spree that he has been on has been insane.
I don't
9
even think it's
goals
updated yet.
in
I mean-
4 Premier League games. That is historical.
20 shots, too. 20 shots.
This
That's
is historical
ridiculous.
number so far for Haaland. Sam, what's working for him? Everything?
He's finding it. He's just finding the ball. I mean, like, people are talking about these in soccer especially, is like when a player gets in form, they get in form. and they're going to go a spell of games. And you can say that about people that are off form as well. You're going to have a spell of games. He's on form right now. He's finding the back of the net. And what I love about Holland is that he's not afraid to get up on that center back, be physical, hold the ball up, and spin. And we saw that.
Yep.
He's like a better version of Lukaku. Lukaku plays the same way.
And, I mean, but you look at Holland, and some people know him now as he can't score in those big games. We saw in Inter, he couldn't get the goal. We've seen some of the big games he's played in, he hasn't gotten that goal. What's it going to take for him to take that next level step up and get those big game goals?
He doesn't need a big game goal. I mean, I think there's a lot of people talking about how he needs to get the big game. I think he just needs to play ball the way he knows how to, and those opportunities will come because they have. Maybe he hasn't put them away entirely, but those chances will come and
this
have
is all
been
credit to
coming.
City's offense, getting the ball to him consistently. I mean, we saw an assist from Ederson in a Premier League game to
That was
get
crazy.
to get Holland a goal. Historical
crazy.
pace for Erling Haaland. But we're going to go ahead and go right into baseball when we come back here on Grand Slam Sports.
Welcome back into Grand Slam. Right now, we're going to go and talk about a little bit of baseball here as we have our wild card watch. Jace?
I mean, it looks the same as it did when we were talking about it. You know, last week you got the Mets still in that 6th spot, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Brewers. I mean, it all looks similar. Obviously, the Yankees still holding on to dear life for that 1 seed over the Guardians, but they now have a 4-game lead over Baltimore in the AL East. Some surprises there, as Baltimore has gone 3-7 in the last 10 games. They've kind of fallen off the face of the earth, the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, the Baltimore, God, we just talked about football. I'm having a problem right now. Baltimore Orioles, they've kind of looked a little bit 50-50. They've not looked too hot coming in. The Yankees have been really hot. Obviously, clinched. The Guardians clinched.
Closed. Have they
The
clinched?
Guardians did
last
clinch.
night?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And the Brewers also clinched the NL Central. So I mean,
Weakest division in baseball. So.
Weakest division in baseball. Weakest division in baseball now. So I mean, we're kind of looking in at these teams, exact same playoff picture as we had seen before. So we can kind of just.
But I mean, I want to talk about the Tigers. They're tied with the Twins in that last wild card spot. Can Detroit make the playoffs?
I certainly hope not, because I think they will get bounced out in a very, very quick succession. But I'm all here for a little miracle. They've not made the playoff in, I want to say, 7 years. So I'm all here for a little bit of interesting plays. As we look on to our next segment, we're going to look at the Brewers. They clinched the NL Central. So we're kind of looking more in detail. How are you feeling about the Brewers? Even though they're in that weak division, how are you feeling about them overall?
They're a good team. I mean, they're only like 4 or 5 games back of these two teams right here, 1 and 2 with the Phillies and Dodgers. The Brewers are a good team. Don't get me wrong. I also don't think they have what it takes come October. They have a solid squad for sure, but with some injuries and whatnot, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this team. I think that they look very young. Their pitching has been a lot better, even though they lost Corbin Burns. They've looked really good. Jackson Chourio, he's come in and he's been fantastic for this team. I mean, not a lot of injuries to talk about other than Yelich out for the season, but for the most part, this team looks fantastic. I think that they can be a scary team to go against in the playoffs, but I'm not taking them over a more experienced Dodgers or a
They're the
Philly.
team I would put on upset alert in the wild card round against that 6th seed. Whoever that 6th seed is going to give them a difficult 3-game series.
Agreed. I think it's going to be fun. They're a fun brand of baseball. They're young, similar to that Orioles team that we used to talk about last year.
Sure.
They're not as good, but they're still young. They're fun. We all like that. As we look at the Grimace Mets, one of our
Grimace Mets.
favorite teams, the most fun teams. Another healthy team that looks fantastic. How are you feeling about them?
They look good. They look good, but I mean, it's about can they hold on to that wild card spot over the Braves. I mean, they still play a 3-game set with the Braves in just about a week. That series is probably going to decide who that 6th seed is. So it's going to be difficult to tell. But I mean, with the Braves' injuries, I would expect the Mets to come out of that series at least 2-1 or 3-0. I think the Mets will hold on to that 6th seed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think the Mets take this one just because of health. I mean, we were talking earlier, most of their injuries are to young guys that got called up, but they're being replaced with even better young guys. I mean, the Mets had one of the best farm system valuations coming into this league. I mean, coming into this year. When it came to money and how much they were worth, they were number 2 coming into the year. So, I mean, this is a team their farm system is perfect. And, I mean, now they have Luis Angel or Acuna coming in. And he's been pretty hot batting .421 with a homer.
And as much as I hate the Mets, this is good to see them actually succeeding for
Agreed.
once. Because, I mean, they've spent all of this money trying to become a good franchise, and it's finally working.
And it's funny because it's a team that actually cost the least money over the past few years. I mean, it's not been because they bought everyone this year. It's been because of some draft capital, but also Francisco Lindor.
That's what we've seen now with the Padres, too. They've kind of gone away from the cash grab, go and grab players with money, and they've gone more towards the youth. It's working in the MLB now.
Agreed.
The farm system is what makes these teams so valuable.
And this is an upgraded pitching system as well. As we look at some of the free agents that we talked about in last season of Grand Slam, we talked about Luis Severino, former Yankee. He's been kind of doing pretty solid in the Mets uniform. Sean Manaea, doing really good, Indiana native. He has looked fantastic, the lefty for them. He's looked really good, and I really like to see a Mets team that's just actually looks like it has some confidence coming into it.
And I mean, they're a team, if they get hot, they're going to make a run.
Agreed.
They're going to probably face the Brewers in that first round if they make it, and that I would favor the Mets in that series, to be honest. As hot as they've been recently, the Brewers, division champions, they're good, don't get me wrong, but the Mets, as hot as they've been, I would take them in that series.
And it's that pop, to me, that I think is really interesting. I mean, you got Pete Alonso, Francisco
Oh,
Lindor,
for sure.
fantastic switch bat, JD Martinez when he's healthy. This is a team that if they get going, they get going. They can be scary to go against in a playoff series, especially a 3-game playoff series early. But as we look into our final segment, we talked about it last week, our rookie report, the new weekly segment that we'll be having. I will be going first with my rookie, and I'm going to be talking about Marvin Harrison. Now, Sam is not on, but he also picked the exact same rookie as me, so I guess
Fair
it
enough.
kind of works out. He did fantastic. 4 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, most of them, I'm pretty sure all of them actually, in the first quarter. So, I mean, he did fantastic in the first quarter, showed us signs of why he was the #1 rated receiver in the draft. He looked great. And I like to see that him and K1 connection starting to warm up a little bit. People have had a lot of panic early in these years about rookies and quarterbacks connections, but
You saw in week 1, people were freaking out, and Marr got the ball once.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bound to take some time. He's still a rookie. Give him time. He's not going to be the legend that his dad was immediately.
yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, and a prime example, I know it's the Jets, but prime example, Garrett Wilson
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Aaron Rodgers. I mean, their connection's still forming.
It takes time.
It takes time. And it's been taking a lot more time this year. Quarterback numbers are down because defenses are getting better. So seeing a receiver with 130 yards, that's promising for my second week of rookie report. Jace?
I'm going to go with Houston Texans rookie corner Kamari Lassiter. This guy has been phenomenal, the highest graded from PFF so far of any rookie, and he had that big interception against the Bears that helped them get the victory on Sunday Night Football. And look at the stat right here. Only allowed 3 receptions, 28 yards on the 10 targets against him this season. He has been phenomenal in coverage. This guy's good.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's one of those situations where the Texans' cornerbacks were kind of their biggest weakness. I mean, you had Stingley, but now having Lassiter, who's looking fantastic. I mean, this brings in a cornerback core that could be really deadly for an offense that's already a top 3 in the league. So,
I mean, the Texans, they're scary. And, I mean, they added on a piece that they really need desperately, and he's been phenomenal for them. They got the offense. They got the DBs. It's about that defensive line and linebacker core for the Texans that worries me a little bit. But the Texans team looks like a real contender now, especially if Lassiter continues his play.
and you got Stroud mixed in a great offense, and I think in a very weak division. I think they're going to be really good, especially, I think I forget, maybe just me, Daniil Hunter is on that team's
Correct.
D-line. That's a D-line that gets stuff done, and they do a good job. So that's going to be all for today's episode of Grand Slam. I'm Charles Foster.
Jace Hodge.
Have a good night.